Hi guys, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Remake video. In today's video I'm going to discuss 7 must-have materias in hard mode and how to utilise them properly, because in the normal campaign there are several materias that you just have no need for whatsoever, but in hard mode you're going to wish that you had leveled these up earlier. And if you do like today's video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Final Fantasy VII Remake content, and with that being said, let's mosey. Now, kicking us off at number 1 is the Elemental Materia. Now, I can't stress enough how important this materia is for both attack and defense. So in the normal playthrough I didn't use Elemental at all, and it's one of the hardest materias to max out, so for me it's obviously took me a while to max it out, so I do recommend you do this through your first playthrough. And for those who don't know, if it was equipped with, let's just say, fire on your weapon, that would add linked elemental damage to the damage dealt to enemies, and as long as they're not strong or immune to it, it will add the damage. So at level 1 it's 8%, at level 2 15%, and if you get it maxed out at level 3 it adds 23% extra damage to targets. Now if it's attached to your equipment, so let's just say Cloud Supreme Bracer, for level 1 it'll halve the damage taken. For level 2 it will act like an immunity, and at level 3 you'll actually absorb it as HP. So you can see why it'd be more effective to attach this to the bracer over the weapon in certain situations. So there are 2 different approaches to using this materia, and honestly I cannot recommend it enough. And you can set up prior to fights now in areas, because you know what elements certain bosses or certain areas and monsters are weak to now, because you've obviously assessed them all through your playthrough. This is just an efficient way to stack damage in between ATB rounds and obviously stagger opponents quickly. Now, number 2 on my list is another support materia, and that is MAGNIFY. Now, you will have used this in the playthrough as it's the nearest materia we've got to all materia, but it is an area of effect materia, not an all materia, so it's only within a certain range of the target that you choose to hit. It's going to come in really clutch if you need a team healer at a certain point on this, because in hard mode you're going to be taking a lot of damage. But it can be paired with other magics as well, as certain scenarios are very situational. Now, you could play safe and run with a heal, or you could use it off for my third choice of materia, and that is Barrier. I think Barrier is probably one of the most important materias in the endgame content, because it halves the damage taken from enemies. So level 1 is physical damage, level 2 is magic damage, and obviously level 3 is both damages taken is halved. So you can understand why this is most important, and I actually pair this up with MAGNIFY and basically give all 3 characters their own Curaga to heal themselves, and a few other materials help with that, and I'll get into that in this list. But yeah, Barrier for me, you are going to be getting one-shots a lot in hard mode, especially against bosses, so having a mana wall in place to halve that damage, along with maybe elemental damage there to absorb certain attacks, so you can see why, again, Barrier is a must-have materia in your second playthrough in hard mode. Now, number 4 on my list is something I never use, not even once in the story, and that is Time. So Time gives you the ability to cast Haste at level 1, cast Slow at level 2, but at level 3 you can actually cast Stop. Now, apart from bosses, this should work on nearly every enemy, and if you're in a sticky situation or you come up against 2 tough opponents, you can stop one immediately, which lets you concentrate on the first and basically just gives you that advantage over the enemies. So for me, I'd cast Stop straight away with my first ATB gauge if the battle is with more than 1 enemy. But if there's only 1, I'd maybe cast Haste on the party first and then get to work with the Stop. Use the likes of Barrier and then maybe start using Stop. Because again, these battles are going to be very situational, and it's going to be down to you to decide what to use first, because everybody's got their own strategies. Now, coming in at number 5 is the First Strike materia. Again, this is a must-have in endgame content. Being able to use an ability straight away in any battle is going to be key to success. So it gives you the opportunity to use the likes of Barrier, your Time materia, anything that you see fit at the beginning of a battle, you can get off straight away, and you do get 2 of these, so having one on Cloud and obviously another character who's running one of those materias or something else that you might particularly prefer is going to be an absolute godsend come hard mode. And also that pairs perfectly with number 6 on my list, and that is the ATB Stagger Materia. Now, upon using your first strike, if you're using an offensive magic, for instance, there's a chance you're going to stagger the enemy, especially in the battles in between main storyline content. And as soon as they're staggered, you're going to have your ATB gauge back again. You know, this is obviously paired with first strike, again, a must-have materia combination, I suppose, in the hard mode content. And just before I get into number 7, I do have some situational magics that are worthy mentions, which we'll get into as well, because there's going to be a few people who are going to say, how have you not included this, that or the other, and I'll give my opinion on a few others. But number 7 on my list of must-have materias in hard mode is Prayer. Now, Prayer's a materia you first see once Aerith joins the party, and to be honest, again, it's another materia that I just completely never used in my first playthrough. But basically this gives a heal to all party members without the cost of MP. And when you max this out, if used correctly with a fully magic based character like Aerith, so you have like obviously magic bonuses, you equip MP bonuses, you know, basically just a full on magic support character. Prayer's going to heal similar to CHAKRA, maybe not quite CHAKRA, but it's going to cost no MP. And you can't use items in hard mode, so there is no way to restore MP. So having Prayer for me is vital. I think you can have 2 of these in the game, so if you've got them but you haven't leveled them up, I suggest using the guide on how to max out your characters that I made the other day. I will leave a link in the description for that, because it's going to be good for any of these materials that you haven't even looked at before, so I will leave a link in the description for that. But yeah, Prayer is my 7th must-have materia in the hard mode content. Now, a few worthy mentions. Firstly, Revive, as you can imagine. It is effective as you cannot use items, so you can't use Phoenix down, so if anybody does go down, it gives you the opportunity to get them back up. And obviously at level 2 you get a Rise, which gets them back on their feet with full HP. But the reason this is situational is because if the character who's got it equipped gets knocked, it becomes pointless. And if you follow tips that I've mentioned with the other 7 materials, and obviously use your likes of Cure, CHAKRA and Prayer, you know, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to be getting knocked anyway, so that's one of the reasons it isn't in my main list. A second notable mention is the ATB Assist materia. It's a bit like ATB Stagger, but that's the reason it's on the notable mentions, because ATB Stagger is by far more superior. But it basically gives ATB gauge to characters when you've used back-to-back abilities. So, okay, you could go overkill and put this on as well as the ATB Stagger, because there might be a character that you haven't switched to get the ATB gauges that could benefit from this. So, yeah, I do have this on as well, but I could understand, again, in a situation where people may not see this as a benefit, and hence why it's not in my main list. Another worthy mention is CHAKRA. Again, this is a self-heal with no MP, so if you've got the space to put it on, brilliant. But again, it's not as good as Prayer, and hence why it's only on my notable mentions. But it does also cure poison, which is kind of cool, so if you can afford to have this on your build, then do so. And finally, the last notable materia I wanted to mention was STEADFAST block. If you're in a battle where you're finding yourself in Punisher mode a lot, because there are going to be situations where you do, and then you're countering them, you're going to be taking less damage, and also get a boost in the ATB gauge. Again, it's very situational. You might find ATB Stagger enough if you're on the offensive, but I suppose this, again, is something that I do run with on a regular basis, because there's a lot of situations where you're going to have to defend. So taking less damage and getting a large ATB boost upon maxing this materia out could become vital in the end game content. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. If you did enjoy today's Final Fantasy VII Remake video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Final Fantasy VII Remake content, and finally, if there's any materials you think have missed off this list that you think would be worthy of a mention, comment them down below and I'll be sure to check them out. But with that being said, take care.